Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.
I know. We have not done one of these in a minute, Jared Newland. It's been a while, but I have a perfect explanation for why we have not done a Roaring Repeater podcast. Didn't want summer to end. We wanted to have some fun this summer.
Well, with today's weather, you're kind of thinking like maybe, shoot, the summer has ended, but it's supposed to get back good. We needed this rain after being wet most of summer. Then we went dry for 3 weeks. My lawn just dried up like that.
Oh, I know, mine too.
It's crazy.
I honestly, I was driving over to Laramie today, going over the summit, and I thought, are we going to see some snowflakes up here? It was that chilly this morning. So I wanted to squeeze as much summer out as humanly possible. I think you could agree with that.
I'm still trying to play as much golf as possible, and I've been lacking the last 2 weeks.
I just wanted to drink beer and drink beer.
You drink beer?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Just checking.
Maybe that's why I have gout so bad right now in my right foot. I can barely walk. I don't know.
And Joey, get off our back. Here it is.
Boy, you know what? I don't know how many people listen to this thing really every week, but we have some that are hardcore. I've got a guy named Stu on Twitter who's like, haven't seen anything. I was able to make a flight from Texas back home, smuggle in a bunch of beer, and still haven't heard a podcast from you. So here it is, Stu. Sorry.
It is funny. We do get these messages from folks. Hey, where's the podcast? Well, we can go on vacation too, you guys.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
It is funny, though. People say, well, I want to download it before I drive from point A to point B or hop on a flight and stuff like that. So that is really cool. And starting, we'll get back to normal next week because we'll have 13 straight weeks for sure of the Cowboy Kickoff Show.
Yep, which you can find on the website.
Yep, we can find on the website and kind of treat it as a podcast as well. So when you guys are flying in for games or driving in for games, you guys can download that and listen to it or listen to it live on KOWB when you get into town.
And you forgot some crucial words there. Award-winning. 7220sports.com kickoff
Yeah,
show.
that's right. Let's
break our arms, patting our backs here. I'm glad we won that, though.
Me too.
I don't know if I could have.
Well, we would have been. We
myself.
both said we were moving out of the state if we didn't win it.
Yeah, couldn't lose that one for a number of reasons.
So let's go for number 2.
One main one. yeah.
That'd be called a winning streak.
Yeah, that is a winning streak. I will take it. Today, Cowboys wrapped up fall camp. It's so weird, and I know a player like Frank Crum would probably punch me right in the nose right now for saying it, but we feel like we were in camp too in a lot of ways because it's just grind, man. And to be honest with you out there, we haven't spent any time on Texas Tech yet. That's my whole weekend is to spend time. Well, I'll be watching some football too, but Texas Tech is on the docket now. This is the time during camp where I personally try and focus on who the Cowboys have and what's coming out of the gate in that opener. So looking forward to getting into Texas Tech, but did a ton of stories. I think I looked it up yesterday, Jared. It was like 47 feature stories on players on this roster since spring football. I mean,
Crimea River.
It's been a lot, and I know I joke with my colleagues all the time about like, who are we even going to talk to this week, man? You feel like you've talked to every single person on this roster, but I will tell you, overarching with this roster, everybody's been really cool. You're really going to like this team. They're really mature, as Craig Bull always likes to allude to. Just good guys, man. Good guys, good stories. Can really talk to the media, which is not always the case. I mean, I tell Easton Gibbs right to his face, first time I interviewed him, I couldn't get a peep out of the guy, and it was really painful. And now he can admit all these years later that he was terrified and didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Well, that's what's cool in your position. You get to see these guys mature, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And their speaking improves that much more. They just grow up as men and mature as men.
No doubt.
And that's really cool to see. And you get to see it a lot more than we do as more fans and get just watching them on the field.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And, you see that with a guy like Logan Wilson, and to be able to see what he's doing on Sundays now is really special.
Well, just think about his interview as a freshman and sophomore.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't spit words out.
Yeah.
He didn't want to spit words out. And then now all of a sudden, now you see him behind a podium on a Sunday evening after a football game, you're like, that's my guy.
He knows how to do it now. I'll never forget Logan, especially after they beat CSU his senior year. He came in and stood behind the podium post-game, and he said, "It sucks to be a CSU Ram." You would have never heard that out of a Logan Wilson. He knew he's never playing him again. He went 4-0 against him, and he deserved the right to say that, and it was great.
Just took a page out of Josh Adams' book.
He sure did. So camp wrapping up. We're going to kind of put a bow on camp a little bit, Jared. Of course, guys, go to the website. There's 1.5 million stories on there. Everything you need to know, everything I've learned. You have to preface that, of course, by saying we are not allowed to watch practice, as you well know. Did get a few sneak peeks, I guess, as we were waiting to be let into a locked door, for instance. But we don't see anything of substance. So we really have to go off what Coach Ball says and then pretty much verify it with every player we talk to. Yep. And they're all singing the same tune, and it doesn't seem like a company line this year. I'm getting a real sense of real confidence this year. Every year you kind of analyze things, and I've been fooled before. 2021, of course, comes to mind. I think we all thought that team had a ton of veterans, and they were going to be really solid, and they were going to be just great across the board, had a ton of talent. Things just, sometimes locker rooms splinter, and sometimes things just aren't working out right. And as we saw, a lot of guys left that team after the season, and the reason they left the team, they said, was because they didn't have a great relationship with their head coach. Things have changed in that department drastically, but this team seems more cohesive than ever. They were the third youngest team in the country last year. Now they're one of the oldest teams in the country, and that's what the transfer portal is doing. And the Cowboys and their staff, I have to give them a ton of credit. They really navigated that portal beautifully this year. On paper, it says they've lost like 17 guys to the portal. 3 of those guys were impact guys, and Emmanuel Pregnon is definitely the biggest loss of all of those guys. So,
and we might get a chance to see him play tomorrow.
Yeah.
USC hosts San Jose State, so tune in and see if he's on the field or not.
Oh, I saw he was the big guy on their poster they just put out on social media, so I would assume he's very talented. But he to me, in my opinion, he's going to prove to be the biggest loss for this team. But if you've followed this program, you know that the offensive line has been nearly plug and play, and same with the running backs room. And I know we're going to get into it a little bit, but, obviously the Cowboys are down a couple of running backs. Are you worried about that? I don't worry about that with this team.
Deepest room on the entire roster for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we can get in, if you want to get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, the offensive line in the early offseason, we're like, going to be the strength of the team with the running backs. I mean, it's going to be huge. Lose a couple running backs, a couple guys so-called retire.
Yeah.
Then Pregnon goes to USC. But now, like you said, they're still plug and playing, and they're going to be young for the most part, really, on that offensive line. Frank Crum, of course, a 6-year guy, is the anchor.
Yep.
But they're still going to be pretty dang young on that line. But man, I think they're going to be good.
I do too, and a lot of people don't think about this aspect. This Cowboys defense could be awesome, and the strength of that defense is on the front. Guess who these guys are practicing against every day?
Just going to say that. They're going up against probably the best defensive line in the conference every single day, and that's just going to make them better every single day.
And I've heard it a lot this year, kind of silently. They're not screaming it from a mountaintop, but when the hardest part is who you're going up against in practice every week, that makes the game pretty easy in some ways. And I actually just heard a former Patriots player earlier on a radio show talking about that in practice with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and this was a cornerback who was talking, he's like, that was 10 times harder than anything we were going to face on Sunday, and we were over-prepared. So I think we're going to see that. I really do. But on the offensive line, the depth chart was released. Craig Bowl said the maturity of this team is what made him confident, and we joked a little bit about it. Last year it was TBA at quarterback going into Illinois, and you have to wonder if TBA would have had a better outing than Andrew Peasley. It was brutal, as we know, but he feels so comfortable with this team and their maturity level that he can let this out. And think about this: 2 years ago. Charles Hicks and Easton Gibbs were in a battle for that outside linebacker spot. He put out a press release, or he put out the release of the depth chart. Charles Hicks was in the transfer portal minutes later because he lost that battle to Easton Gibbs. And what he's talking about with the maturity thing is guys who aren't on this depth chart or third or fourth or not even listed, they're mature enough to know that ain't the end of the road. Yeah. You're going to play. And you talk about defensive tackles, for instance, and Craig's brought this up a bunch. Last year at the end of that game against Boise State, it was Ethan Drews and Ben Florentine at the defensive tackle spots. Not Cole Goodbow, not Jordan Bertinelli, not Caleb Robinson, not Gavin Meyer. And Ethan Drews is the one who forced that fumble, that George Helani fumble that Devon Harris should have taken to the house to win that game. So, don't get discouraged if you're not on those initial depth charts because,
You're one play away.
And it is cliche as hell, but it's true as hell. So this year on the depth chart, surprises, I guess, like I said, I'm not really surprised when any running back. It kind of reminds me of late 90s Broncos, early 2000s plug and play in a lot of ways, and that's not taking anything away from Jamari Farrell, but he's a junior college kid that played at Saddleback. He had a ton of injuries in high school that really set him back. He got kicked out of his first junior college, Independence Community College, for undisclosed reasons. And one thing that woke him up was he was back home in Mission Viejo, California. He's working the drive-thru at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and his old classmates are coming through the drive-thru going, man, thought you were going to be a star, thought you were going to be something. Now you're working at KFC. Woke him up. He went across the street to Saddleback Community College, and the rest is history. And here he is, number one on the depth chart going into Texas Tech.
And I enjoyed reading the article you did on that. And do you think, though, that he's in the starting lineup to maybe carry the tote, a few times early on in that Texas Tech game, and then they bring in DQ for a change of speed, and then Texas Tech has to adjust like, oh boy, what's going on here?
Not to mention Sam Scott, who's third on the depth chart, is 6'2", 230 pounds. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the Cowboys have always done this. I mean, since Greg Bull's been here, it's always somebody gets the first series, somebody gets the second series, and then it starts mixing and matching.
And then it might be a few swing passes here and there. Then they're like, oh, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
I hope that's the case anyway.
I do too. But let's be real. If Harrison Whaley is healthy, he's the starter. And, boy, he looks good.
And that's another thing in the back of my mind. You've talked to him. You said he's ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He feels ready to go.
Is this a little poker face from Craig Bull?
Don't know. Craig actually a couple weeks ago kind of cracked the door a little bit, and he said, I don't think he's going to be ready for the opener.
Yeah,
I don't know if he'll be ready, but also, do you bring him in for Portland State the following week?
Well, definitely not if that's the case. But obviously, Texas Tech, if you can play him, if he's ready to go, you got to play him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe he doesn't start. I think Jamari Farrell has earned that right to start.
Yeah, because, Harrison's missed the entire camp per se. But maybe if you could sneak out to see practice on Monday, who knows?
Well, Ryan Thorburn did see that Sebastian Harsh was back in pads today, which is good news for the Cowboys. He didn't say anything about seeing Harrison Whaley, but Coach did admit that Sebastian is back at practice, which is great news for this team. We're really excited to see him.
From what we know, it was a very minor setback. They just had to remove something that was left in there from surgery that had broke.
Yeah, so. He had a wire that, he had a full horizontal break of his kneecap. Yeah. You can't even make that up. But Jamari Farrell, starting running back number one, love it. Great guy, great attitude. Apparently he's doing all the right things. The decision makers think he is the number one running back. So
Not that is a surprise on the depth chart, just because it was injury situations there with McNeely and Whaley.
Yeah.
What other surprises on the depth chart came up to you?
None. Honestly, none. We knew that a youngster or two was going to have to start on this line on the offensive front.
I am a little surprised John Hoyland's number one on the depth chart.
I'm actually surprised they have a backup for him. That was nice to see.
I did see that they finally.
That was nice to see. 155 pounds, soaking wet. Eric something. My screen just
from Steamboat, correct?
Steamboat, Colorado.
Yep. Yeah. Well, he knows how to kick in weather, that's for sure. So hopefully they don't need to use him this year, though.
Yeah, Eric Sandvik. You could tell when I asked Bull, I asked him early on in camp, so if John Hoyland goes down, what are you going to do? And he said, a player to be named later. So Eric Sandvik, all 155 pounds of him, true freshman, he is your guy.
Fuaz and Stewart.
Yeah.
Would have to step in and do something, I would think.
Oh, brother.
Anyway,
let's not
not talk about that.
Yeah, nothing really surprised me, though, Jared, honestly. They have a ton of depth at wide receiver, which is something they haven't had in a long time. And Mike Grant, Coach Bull, Tim Polasek, they all agree this is the most depth they've ever had at that position.
And I know you asked a question about why aren't the two transfers or it was a surprise, a little bit of a surprise that the transfers weren't number one on the depth chart. But I don't think that really matters. It's kind of like a D-line situation. D-ends for sure.
Rotate.
They rotate so much. Yeah. You're going to get the playing time, the nickel back, all that kind of stuff on defense. Who cares who starts?
Right.
Running backs.
Yeah.
You're going to get the rotations.
Yeah. Offensive line's really the one where you're not rotating guys, and you want that to be.
Yeah, but you need 7 deep there.
Yes.
To have a couple, like somebody gets a stinger, somebody sprains an ankle, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You have to have a little bit there. But other than that,
no.
I guess.
And I'm not surprised by those wide receivers not being on there. And the reason I say this is because I think Craig is showing – first of all, I think the guys deserve it. But second of all, I think Craig is showing the loyalty that some of these guys have shown to him.
Yep.
Wyatt Whelan, he had a great year last year. That guy didn't have one catch under his belt for his first 3 years. And we just talked the other day. He's been here since the year Josh Allen was a rookie for the Bills. I mean, that's how long Wyatt Whelan's been here now. He is going to be your starter. Alex Brown, a guy who only has 9 career catches in 5 years. He stuck it out, and they really think he's going to have a big year. And then
he made a hell of a catch against CSU last year.
He sure did, yeah. Huge catch against them. But I'm not surprised because, like Ryan Marquez, I think you could say you're surprised by him, but we kind of saw him coming on late. But he was a walk-on. Coach talked about him today. That's the thing with all this crap going on in the world of college football. That's the constant is the walk-on who busts his ass, earns a scholarship, and is playing.
And he makes plays.
He does.
Not only catching the ball in the bowl game and stuff like that, but think about those special teams plays.
Might have won the game against Tulsa
all year long.
Yeah, for real. So he's that great story of the guy who just came from nothing and now he's on scholarship and. Coaches love it, so not surprised. Not surprised. Those and Ira Asante, of course, and Devin Body Jr. who we're talking about with these wide receivers. They weren't here for the spring. I mean, they're still. I don't know that would send a good message, would it? I mean, if you make them your starters when they weren't even here for spring and they're still playing catch up on the playbook. But like you said, we're making a mountain out of a molehill here because, like you said, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Whoever plays and is consistent and catches the damn ball and does their job, they're going to play.
And we're just ready for kickoff. I mean, tomorrow, I know there's only a handful of games, but it's college football. There's no great matchups, but it's college football.
Yes. 3 Mountain West games, San Jose State at USC, as you mentioned, Hawaii at Vanderbilt, and San Diego State at Ohio. Go Bobcats.
And that probably is the best matchup of the day.
I agree.
Evenly matchup. I mean,
Ohio didn't have their badass starting quarterback against Wyoming and Tucson. He's back.
And they call him the Maple Missile.
Canadian dude.
Yeah, something like that. So, and his older brother played for him as well.
He's
and
in
he's in the NFL.
Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah, he's a hell of a player. The Cowboys really dodged a bullet not playing that kid.
Against him.
He's really good. I actually talked to him after a press conference last year. He's a great kid. Excited for them. Of course, we have no love lost for San Diego State anyway.
No.
Here's a question I want to ask you, and I know a lot of fans are split on this. Are you a Mountain West fan, or are we seeing now more than ever that who gives a shit? I hope San Diego State gets curb stomped.
I've never been a person who cares about the other teams in the league, unless it comes down to if they can actually get into that BCS money or, the former BCS now playoff money.
Yeah.
Because it helps the entire league.
Sure.
Other than that, I don't care if they win.
No. And I think we're seeing now, what does it matter?
And I would never, ever root for CSU against anybody.
No.
Unless it meant that they had to beat somebody in Wyoming were to win a title.
Sure.
That's the only time I would root for them.
Toughest question I've ever been asked in my life, Jared, is back in the day, of course. Who do you go for when BYU and CSU play? And my answer I can't give on the air because it's so politically incorrect that you would even cringe.
Just don't watch the game.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Misery. I had Craig Bowl ask me that. He said, would you rather we beat CSU or BYU? And I said, don't ever ask me a question like that, Craig. Who are you playing this week?
I mean, now it's you got to – CSU, you want to root against CSU no matter what because you're not recruiting against BYU.
Right.
And I've said this time and time again. Wyoming recruits against CSU every single day of the year.
Yeah.
And it's not just about athletics. It's about for students, which brings revenue to the state of Wyoming, the university, and the city of Laramie.
Yeah, no doubt. And BYU, of course, I mean, we want them to lose every game too. Yeah. But that's for
they're going to have an eye opener this year in the Big 12.
Yes, they are. I can't wait. So anyway, your two new starters basically on offense, left guard Wes King will make his debut against Texas Tech. He had a real battle this offseason with Luke Sandy, who will be the backup to Nafoa Fiatulifono there at the center spot. And then right tackle, the Vanilla Gorilla, Caden Barnett, who played last year against Air Force. You probably didn't even notice what a great job he did last year against Air Force, but he played every snap for Frank Crum, who was dealing with an injury during that one. And Cowboys didn't have much trouble running the ball that day against the Falcons, so he's ready for that. He'll step in on that right tackle side as Frank Crum rolls over to Andrew Peasley's blind side. So that's really it. Other than that, and Wyoming has 10 returners back on defense. Really, it's almost 11 because number 11, or the newbie, is Colby Taylor, who appeared in 8 games last year and, of course, was a starting corner against Fresno State and for like 2 seconds against Ohio before the old helmet-to-helmet hit got the flag in the gate. So, nothing really surprised me on this depth chart. We kind of waited to see that battle between Wes King and Luke Sandy. And then, of course, Connor Shea, also at linebacker. Coach said he's been really working at middle. We know who Wyoming's middle linebacker is, but Connor Shea can play both. Heaven forbid anything happened to Easton Gibbs. Sounds like they're in good hands. Heaven forbid something happens to Shea Suianoa. They're in good hands. Cole DeMarzo also back, the Michigan State transfer. So not a lot of shock. This year it's always so different, Jared. This is my 5th year covering the Cowboys now, and every camp is so different. It's like there's a million position battles or there's none. And this is one of those years where there really wasn't many. But last year, we didn't even know half the guys' names. Yep. So it'll be kind of like basketball this year.
Just make sure you get a program when you're there, though, because quite a few people have changed some numbers, yep. And then the new faces you're going to want to know anyway. So you're going to like, what's going on? Who's that again?
Yeah, and we have a story on 7220 Sports about like all these number changes and stuff. But, man, that seems like it was written 10 years ago, but it was probably only like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
It's been a minute. It all turns into a blur at this point. But on the injury front, I've seen a lot of fans make this crazy comparison, Jared. They're like, oh, Harrison Whaley's only going to be out 2 games. Where have we heard this before? Jeff Linder said 6 to 8 weeks with Graham Ike. It's like, guys, and then, oh my God, all these injuries. This has been the best offseason so far, knock on wood, for injuries. They've had one devastating season ender, and that's DeWine McNeely.
And it's football, folks.
Yeah.
Injuries happen.
And people go, why are they hitting so hard? Why are they doing that? Why are they practicing on turf? They play on turf. My question was, why are you practicing on the North 40, which is where DeWine McNeely tore his knee on natural grass? Why are you practicing on that? Last year they played at BYU, natural grass. This year, not one game on natural grass. Why are you even playing? Why are you even practicing on it? So I asked Craig, and he said, it's about 40 degrees cooler. Plus the nostalgia of it because all the old-timers talk about practicing on the North 40.
Yeah, they used to walk to the North 40.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
I had a guy reach out to me who owns a sod company.
Yes.
And he was really upset, and I said, well, do you even know where he got hurt? And he flat out said, yeah, in the indoor facility. I said, no, that's not the case.
No.
So please do your homework before you say something.
Yeah, and I asked Craig, I'm like, why don't you guys go back to grass? And he just said, our climate is not right for it. And I said, Craig, I grew up here. There was grass my whole life until the last, 10 years?
You want to know what the deal was?
It probably costs a fortune.
Well, the fertilizer, the upkeep, all that kind of stuff of it. And let's be honest. After October 15th, it looks nice on TV.
Yeah.
And in person. It's green.
Yeah.
It's not brown.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there's reasons. No doubt.
Or Dubois Prairie Gold.
Yeah. No, there's plenty of reasons for it, but this guy, actually, I think the same person reached out to me, and he sent me, he said there's all kinds of studies been done that grass is safer, and Craig agreed, but the upkeep and the maintenance and all that, I guess, is not good. I mean, you see the Bronco Stadium every year about November.
It's horrible.
It's rough. It really is. But, I mean, I'm all for going back to natural grass and having a couple games where it doesn't look that great. But you got to think about all the dudes. I did a story at Michigan State on the people who paint that, who have to upkeep it, and the maintenance on it.
It's water insane. And fertilizer, yeah. I mean, there's like this year would have been fine.
Yeah.
With all the moisture.
It would look beautiful, wouldn't it?
But there's years that it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, no doubt. The other injuries, of course, Buck Coors just cannot catch a break, no pun intended. Breaks his hand, 6th surgery since he's been here since 2020. And I just interviewed him, of course, and did a big blowout on him on the website. And he's not a big dude. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to stop playing fast. I looked at him and I said, did you ever think about maybe this isn't for me when you've had all these surgeries and all these injuries? He looked at me like I took a dump on the floor. Like, no, it never crossed my mind. So I guarantee it has not crossed his mind. And they say maybe around a month. If it's a month, give me Buck Coors in 3 weeks.
I see defensive guys plays with clubs on their hands all the time.
Al Rich did it, didn't he, for a whole year, I want to say. Brian Lee, I want to say, had a club too for a while.
And then just think about, I know Kurt Whitehead had one because he tore his ligament in his fingers.
DeWine McNeely had one last year.
So it happens all the time. And
you
know what? We'll probably see him in a month.
I bet we will.
Yeah.
I would bet we will. Will Pellissier, wide receiver out of Bighorn. He's the other injury. Broken fingers is what we were hearing. If I told you that was Wyoming's injury report at the end of fall camp, wouldn't you be like, wow, awesome.
Absolutely.
Great news. Yeah, it's really not bad. For anybody who's about to jump off a bridge, it's not bad at all. I've seen a hell of a lot worse. We've seen devastating knee injuries left and right, and Craig beats the drum all the time about how they don't suffer concussions in practice anymore, and they don't do two-a-days anymore. And now he's taking his foot off the gas for this week against Texas Tech so that everybody's fresh and ready to roll. So I think it's been a great camp. All in all, I certainly didn't walk out of this camp with any concerns. You want DeWine McNeely. That one hurts. That one sucks. You really saw some burst out of him last year, especially on that huge touchdown run against Hawaii where you're like, damn. I mean, think about how many we talked about it every
long
week.
Legs just got going. I watched the replay of that the other day. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a burst. So it sucks to see that. That one hurts. But Whaley's going to be back. Coors is going to be back, and Will Pellissier is going to be back. So I just don't see any concern there, to put it mildly. But things I learned. Once again, we knew a lot. So it wasn't like we learned a ton. This defensive line is going to be filthy.
We were talking before I go on the air, and I brought it up to somebody last week, and I said, you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I want to compare this defensive line to the 88 defensive line. And that was stacked.
I'd love to hear fans. Let us know on social media what you think about it, because I don't think it's that far off. I really think the potential is there. I mean, like you said, that unit had a ton of sacks.
And Pat Raybold, Craig Schlichting, Doug Rigby, David Dean. Don't come at me now for saying this, but I think these guys are as talented.
Yeah.
And then Mitch Donahue was a young freshman at that time. I mean,
who'd they have too? Thomas Williams?
That was a year later.
Oh, a year later. Okay. Yeah. Robert Midget?
He was a linebacker.
Yeah. They just were.
Yeah. And Schenbeck was a linebacker.
They had dudes.
But, I mean, that defensive line, and it all started with that BYU game when David Dean had 5 sacks.
Well, and what I'm getting at, could you almost compare the defense as a whole? Easton Gibbs is really talented. Shea Suinoe had 73 tackles last year and missed 22.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 90s, in the 90s in tackles from your weak side linebacker. And these safeties, they're really comfortable with Isaac White and Wyatt Eckler behind them. A lot of dudes who've never played before. But Rook Brown, they're very confident in him. You saw his coming out party in his first start last year against New Mexico with 10 tackles. Also had a pick 6 at Hawaii that got called back on the worst roughing the passer call I've ever seen in my life. But really, what's been the weak link? It's been the corner spot. Now everybody and their mother is talking about Colby Taylor. He just made a freak list from a national college beat writer. He's listed, I believe I talked to Thorburn about it today, 22nd or something on this list of 90 of the biggest freak athletes in college football. Mm-hmm. 6'4" corner who can run and do it all. I had a source, unnamed, who definitely didn't want to be on the record saying this, who's very in touch with this program, and I said, what are your thoughts on him? And he goes, wouldn't be surprised to see him in the transfer portal at the end of the year. And honestly, guys, I know that's cringeworthy, but it's
a good thing.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, and
isn't
it's a
that
good thing
gross?
if it happens.
Yeah.
If he's that good this year,
yeah,
that means the defense was that much better.
Yeah, but isn't that gross? It's gross to hear that. And my first thought is, are you going to do everything in your power to keep the kid?
I can't believe you actually said it.
Yeah,
you hate all those responses on social media. But
exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead and tweet at him, not me.
Yeah, but it was good, man. That's how good this kid could be. And then Tyrekus Davis, we saw his pick 6 in the spring game. He's a really good player out at Navarro Junior College. And then talked to Ja'Cory Hawkins today. He said he feels so much more comfortable in this defense after year 2 in it. Really impactful player, and they got some young guys too on the back end. They moved Keone Parks, the number 2 recruit in the state of Wisconsin, true freshman running back. That's how comfortable they are in their running back room. Oh, by the way, they moved the number 2 overall recruit per Rivals.com to DB, and they think he can have an impact immediately as a true freshman. And on special teams, Coach brought it up again today. So we knew, though, that back to this D-line, we knew they were going to be salty as hell. But apparently they have just been lights out in practice and tunnel vision just coming at you in waves. And like we mentioned, that's going to help this young offensive line tremendously. And talking to Caden Barnett about it, he was like, yeah, you think it's fun every day to face Devon Harris and face Braden Siders and all these cats? I mean, no, but it's going to make us better. So the other thing I learned, and touched on it, wide receiver depth. I mean, the guys we mentioned earlier, the old heads that have been here, like Alex Brown and Wyatt Whelan, I thought took a huge step last year. I can't wait to see what the confidence from that touchdown catch against CSU plus those few catches in the bowl game could do for an Alex Brown, who looks every bit the part. The guy's huge, and he's the fastest player on this team in pads. He runs consistently 20 miles per hour, and he's 6'4". He knows he needs to be better, and he should be. There's no doubt about it. But then you bring in Ira Asante from Holy Cross. He has 1 year of eligibility left, and I tell you what, talking to that guy, he's one you ask him one question, and it goes on for 5 minutes. His answer is 5 minutes long, and it's well thought out. That guy is motivated. He has no problem telling you he wants to be in the NFL, and he has no problem telling you that, hey, Wyoming hasn't won because they can't throw the ball consistently. Enter Devin Body Jr. from Vanderbilt. And those guys are very similar from what we're hearing. They've been very impressive in camp. I know, Andrew Peasley's a new father. He just got married. They were pulling him out, and he agreed to it. I shouldn't say pulling him out of bed or whatever, but they had him out there on Saturdays throwing extra routes and stuff during this offseason too. So they're developing that connection. I think the wide receivers group is going to be better all year, much better. I shouldn't even say just better, much better. And I think they've been working on it. They really have. Everybody from top to bottom has talked about how much they've changed things as far as the passing game and how it's now it's at the forefront. They know that's what's been keeping them from winning consistently and winning a Mountain West championship, and that's the truth. Last time they had a great passing game and a great running game, they played in the Mountain West championship game. Ever since, you can knock on the door all day long, but if you can't convert on 3rd and 7, you're not going to make it. So, really looking forward to seeing those wide receivers. Not to mention, you can lump these guys in too. Trayton Welch, best hands on the team, been here 4 years at tight end, and John Michael Gillenborg's apparently really fast, and guys can block, as we know. You don't play on this team as a tight end if you don't.
I am so looking forward to those seam passes to the tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
Or just button hooks for first downs.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite plays in all of college football is a seam pass to the tight end.
Remember Welch's last year in New Mexico?
Yep.
Why don't you do that 5 times a game?
Especially when you got guys that can actually catch the ball and they're that big.
Yes.
And can go up and get the ball with good hands.
Yeah. Really excited about those guys. And honestly, I'm excited about Andrew Peasley. And I tell you what, Jared, we talked about it last year, and it's really something easy to breeze over where we're like, yeah, it's his first year in a new offense. Think about that, though. And it really hit me in Vegas when I talked to him because he said, you realize I've never even played with a tight end in my life. Not in high school, not at Utah State. And oh, by the way, guys, Andrew Peasley was the backup at Utah State. It's not like he came in as this starter. He was a backup. So last year was his first year truly with the reins, coming from a spread offense in high school, a spread offense at Utah State. He hadn't even taken a snap under center before. Yep. So imagine, and I know people like to goof on Bull because, our offense is complex. Goof on them all you want. It is complex. It's a pro-style offense, and you hear that from everybody, from scouts to the most daisy fresh freshmen on the team. It's tough. It's a foreign language. It's a whole new ball game. And why do you think stuff's translating so well to the NFL?
Yep.
I mean,
14 guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. So Peasley, year 2, he always had the respect of his teammates, but he ditched the leg brace. There's no more of that. I think he's going to – I'm not saying he's going to run all over the place, Michael Vick style. I'm saying that now maybe he's more comfortable dancing around the pocket, finding an opening to find a guy downfield. Because as I talked to Ja'Cory Hawkins today, he said, you know what I love most about our defensive ends? I'm not going to have to cover guys for 8 to 10 seconds. Good luck covering anybody in the world for 8 to 10 seconds. And if Andrew Peasley can dance enough in the pocket and find a seam and have an opening, I think that's where he's going to really improve this year.
Yep.
So other than that, man, I'm seeing just like Craig Bull, a mature bunch of guys. These guys have been a true pleasure to talk to this offseason. I mean, I can't tell you one guy, and I would tell you. I would tell you if one of these guys was a shithead or they weren't cool. These guys have all been great. They're focused on the goal, and it's not lip service. And I'm telling you, I don't know if that's going to translate to wins. I don't know if that'll translate to a championship, but I tell you what, he does have a mature team. And the beauty of it, too, Thorburn, I got to give him credit for this question today. How do you pick a captain, which they're going to vote for tomorrow, by the way? How do you pick a captain when you have so many to choose from? It's going to be more than 4. I guarantee you it's going to be more than 4 because this team, and that's the beauty, they have a captain at almost every single unit within this program. Frank Crum on the offensive line, Peasley, of course, Easton Gibbs in the linebacker crew, front 4, Cole Goodbow, easily. And if you want to throw in a defensive end too, you have Devon Harris, guys like that. So they are going to be, and it's a good problem. It's a really good problem to have. And the beauty of those guys, a guy like Frank Crum, 6th year, Wyatt Whelan, 6th year, another guy who could be a captain. The sense of urgency is there. And it's not panic or anything. It's we're coming out to practice with a purpose. And I can shoot the bull and chew the fat with Frank Crum all day long, and he's great at it. And he's one of my favorite human beings. But it's all game, man. It's on. It's a laser-like focus, and you see it. There's no screwing around, but it's still fun. It's still fun. They're getting their work in, but they're just taking it serious. And not that they didn't before, but there's a different vibe. And I'll do a story before the season starts. I've asked no less than 30 guys on this team, does something feel different? Because it does feel different to me. It feels different to my colleagues. It feels different to the coaches. And maybe it is just that maturity, but something feels different. In a good way, the best way possible.
Yep.
So, obviously, we need Andrew Peasley to be better. He needs to be better. The offensive line, everybody needs to be better. And Coach keeps saying 2%, 2%. Andrew Peasley probably needs to be more than 2% better. But, guys, when he was on last year, it was really good. And now the brace is gone. He can run more. I feel like Peasley's primed to do something really good this year.
5 more completions a game.
Yeah.
Completion percentage goes to 60%.
Yes.
It'll be a huge difference.
Huge.
I mean, it'll equate to more points and to more W's.
And how about pick up 2 first downs a game with your legs?
Yeah.
I mean, we saw last year toward the end, I don't think he was right. And Peasley's not one that'll admit it.
Well, the Hawaii game, you just saw his hip was hurt.
Yeah.
His thigh was hurt. Yeah. Then he had his hand issue.
Concussion the week before
against CSU. He had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, he did. And he won't be one to use excuses. I mean, he's literally a farm kid from Oregon. He knows the credo, you know.
Did you give him any father advice yet?
I don't think anybody wants that from me.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
What about just changing diapers?
I think he's probably all right.
All right, okay.
That guy, man, there's something about Andrew Peasley, too. He's a tough nut to crack. He does not feed the media anything.
But he's a likable.
Lovable.
Tough nut to crack.
Yes. Yeah. Lovable guy.
Some of those guys, they'll frustrate you. Like, come on, give me some. Him, you just...
So, and not that Sean Chambers wasn't likable, but he was. But he was a guy like that. He didn't feed you anything. But Andrews, he's cool, man. He's really cool. Really good guy. It does suck to see how many people rip on him and stuff, but he also knows he's the quarterback. He's going to get pat on the back or a kick in the ass, and that's all there is to it. And that comes with that position, and nobody knows that better than him. So excited for Peasley to see what he can do. We'll talk more about Texas Tech, obviously, on the kickoff show next week, but I've said it before on here, Jared. I don't know a ton about Texas Tech yet. I know enough. I would not fall out of my chair if the Wyoming Cowboys find a way to win this game in Laramie, Wyoming.
I'm actually really surprised that they're a 14-point underdog this early without really diving into both teams. And Vegas knows stuff. They always do. But that spread seems pretty high to me.
Yeah, and I brought this up the other day. Jay Sawbell, Wyoming's defensive coordinator, told me this will be the best offense we see all year.
Because it's a unique offense.
Yes, because the Cowboys are going to see better athletes in Week 3 against Texas in Austin.
And this is the one time that you need to have all hands on deck because you're going to be substituting when you can because they hurry up to the line, but you're going to have to be on your toes at all times.
Yeah. You know what my rebuttal is to that? And, of course, Jay wasn't biting by any stretch, but my rebuttal is, will this be the best defense Texas Tech sees all year? I don't think the Big 12 is exactly known for their defense. I don't think Oregon's exactly known for their defense. This might, when the dust settles in this one, that might be the going forward. That might be Texas Tech saying, dude, that team's legit. That team's real deal.
We'll definitely dive into those positions, rankings and stuff like that next week for sure.
Absolutely. Last thing, you alluded to it. Cowboys have 14 active NFL players now. Brian Hill signed by the San Francisco 49ers last week. Good to see him back. The running back position is so devalued now in football. Would love to see Brian stick with this, and what a better offense to be in. I mean, San Francisco, he'd already been there. He already knows Kyle Shanahan. He already knows the system. Yep. So happy for him. Really want to see him do well. And no cuts yet that I've seen of any Wyoming players. Jacob Hollister, another guy who was signed by the Raiders. He's back in Las Vegas as a tight end there. So,
and when you see that they don't play 1 week, doesn't mean they're not going to get a lot of playing time this weekend.
Right.
Because they move the preseason in the NFL has changed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
tremendously.
Sometimes you don't see anybody play. But hopefully that all 14 of them make an active roster. If not, they're on the practice squad.
Yeah. And the other movement, I guess, Xavier Valladay going from the Houston Texans to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So excited for X, too.
Yep.
And by the way, don't tweet at me telling me Xavier Valladay is not a Wyoming Cowboy. Don't tweet at me saying that Azizi Hearn's not or that C.J. Colden's not.
Hey, I will tell you, if anybody's a Wyoming Cowboy, it's Valladay.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
He has a degree.
Yeah, and so do the other guys. Hearn and Colden, they did their work here. They were here for 3 years. It's just they went for their last final year to see if they could play at a higher level. And guess what? They did. Yep. C.J. Colden was one of the best guys in Oklahoma secondary by far last year. So I hate hearing that stuff. And you just wait, Jared. Let me look into my crystal ball here. The first Monday night game that C.J. Colden plays in for the Minnesota Vikings, and he comes out and he says, C.J. Colden, University of Oklahoma. Heads are going to explode. Xavier Valladay, running back, Arizona State. Can you already see the shitstorm that's going to cause?
They can actually say whatever the hell they want, though.
Yeah.
So you never know. They might say, University of Oklahoma, go Pokes.
Right.
Just to – you don't know. And you know what? Who cares?
I know. Who cares?
There for a while, that was the coolest thing ever to see those guys say University of Wyoming.
Yeah.
But now there's so many guys in there, you expect it.
Sure. Well, and what was the one I think Carl Granderson maybe said his high school?
And some of them, they've done that before, and they say their junior college or their high school. I've heard guys say their middle school before.
Yeah.
They all have fun with it.
Yeah. I think I'd be just fine if Josh Allen said Reedley Junior College. Yep. I'd be perfectly fine with that, man. That's
give them some love too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that is driving me absolutely crazy. I don't know if you've seen this at all. I hate social media and I need to stay off it. Now, because Josh Allen bought a mansion in Southern California, now he's a turncoat liberal freak, and keep him out of here.
Do you guys remember where he's from?
It's so frustrating, man. I know I shouldn't buy into this stuff or even mention it. But
he loves to golf, you guys. So in the off season, in the February, March, April time when Buffalo's still under snow, he wants to go someplace where he can play golf.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he's earned it.
And he can afford it. Who cares?
It's so frustrating.
Jeez.
I got one of those comments the other day about, we don't care about Josh. He's not a Wyoming guy anymore. He's a California guy. And I'm like, where is he from? He's from the Republican basket.
He's not
of
from
California.
Wyoming, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't build a $5 million house in Laramie?
Jeez.
What is he thinking? Anyway, good show. Oh, I want to cap it off with this. We've been doing we have some other stuff too. Mike Skinner won our trivia. The trivia thing we had going on. He won the season tickets. Mike is here in Cheyenne. I don't even know if we talked to you about this, Jared, but in the rules, he gets to do a show with us now. Did you see that?
No.
Let me tell you why.
We're going to have to vet this first.
No, I already did.
Okay.
I vetted it on the way here. Called him to let him know he won the tickets. Congrats again to Mike Skinner. Football tickets, basketball season tickets, and a parking pass. He lives here. He's a huge fan. Grew up next to the Taliches. His coach in school was Hunter Thompson's dad. He knows Wyoming Athletics.
That's cool.
So he's really excited to come on.
Yeah, we'll figure out a time when you can come on in and join us.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about because I was a little terrified to put in that part about you can do a podcast.
That'll
with
be
us.
fun, though.
He'll be great. So congratulations again, Mike.
Just a couple other housekeeping things. Congratulations to Coach Prigge. She earned her first win as Wyoming volleyball coach today. They beat Winthrop. And then soccer is off to a pretty good start. 1-0-2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ties in soccer. I think they had like 8 last year, and they were the number 1 seed in the tournament, and they're the favorite this year. You guys,
yep,
it'll be good. But they've kind of got off the snide, and they scored 3 goals against South Dakota, so that's good for them. And all the other sports, they're getting ready to go to the fall sports. Both golf teams, the cross country teams are ready to go, and then
swimming start in October.
Yep. October, and then Rodeo hired their head coach, Seth Glaus from LCCC, and then they just hired a women's assistant coach or women's head coach, however you want to say it, from South Dakota State, and it's going to be good to have J.C. Hupp in Laramie as well.
Yeah. Also, I want you to give a plug to your niece who had a big showing at the Daddy of Them All.
That was fun. Yeah, my niece, the former 2-time All-American trackster, Shayla Hall, now married, so her last name's Hall, but she ended up 3rd in the championship round at Shine Frontier Days and won just a little over $14K for the week. And she just had a huge weekend over this last weekend. She won Baker, Montana, and won 9 more thousand.
Nice.
And she's sitting 27th in the world right now.
I don't know if she bought you a beer, but she didn't buy me one.
Oh, she's going to be owing me. Actually, Serving has she and another niece's agent for sponsorships. So they'll be buying me plenty of beers.
Awesome. Congrats to her. It's good to see some Wyoming Cowboys and Cowgirls doing big things, especially at the Daddy of Them All. That's got to be it's got to be an unbelievable feeling.
I've never seen her that excited when she won the semifinals on Friday.
Yeah.
And even all those track accolades, everything, that was something I hadn't seen out of her before.
Yeah. I wish they would do rodeo more justice and let us know where they're from, because it says she rodeos out of Texas now, correct?
Well, it's depending on where she's been, to be honest with you. Sometimes it says Stephenville, Texas, and then most times it's saying that she's from Belfouche, South Dakota, because is rodeoing out of the Badlands circuit this year. Mm-hmm. So that's North Dakota, South Dakota. So
does that drive you nuts?
A little bit.
It drives me crazy.
It's a little frustrating, but her husband, he's a 3-time NFR guy. He's from Jay, Oklahoma, but he lives in Stephenville, Texas.
Right.
But it still says Jay, Oklahoma on the thing. And I've been watching more rodeo this year and there because you can watch everything on the Cowboy Channel app. Mm-hmm. It's actually crazy.
I've been watching a lot myself. My buddy Kyle keeps the rodeo channel on often. So I just wish they would say, oh, this person went to the University of Wyoming, and oh, this person's from Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear the arena announcer, they do say that sometimes. Like when Shayla was up here, they said former track star at Wyoming.
Nice.
Married to 3-time NFR. They do get that, but those events they're going so fast, and a lot of times they don't have the technology to update their information on the boards too.
I can't remember if I was there that day. The only 2 rodeos I went to this year, I had the golden ticket, so it was free beer the whole time, and I took full advantage.
You didn't even hardly ever step outside onto the landing, I don't think.
Couple times. So. I love Frontier Days. So, yeah, definitely wanted to just squeeze as much summer out as humanly possible. Can you believe we are 8 days away from kickoff?
Oh, that's awesome.
Can you imagine if Texas Tech was here today? It was windy as hell in Laramie and raining sideways. It was cold.
One thing you did this week, though, you went to a Pantera concert, and you said it was 22 years?
22 years, yeah, man. Yeah, they broke up right after. Well, they quit touring during 9/11. Once the attack on the towers, they quit touring. Didn't know at the time they would never be back together again. But it's kind of funny. I probably shouldn't say this, but I was on probation a long time ago. I was a youth on probation for a very non-violent crime. It's too embarrassing to even tell you what it was for. However, the judge said you're not allowed to leave the county. And I said, that seems a little drastic, not to mention I have tickets to Pantera in Casper on Friday and in Denver on Saturday. And she goes, well, that's too bad. I said, I have tickets already. And she said, I'll make you a deal. Your mom goes with you, you can go. My mom's not going to...
she drove you, maybe.
Yeah, my mom's not going to Pantera. So it was one of those deals where I had 30 days of jail hanging over my head, and I thought, you know what, Pantera's worth it. And boy, am I glad I went to those. Got to see Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul and the whole group together, Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown. Got to see them live like 7 times before, unfortunately, Dime was murdered on stage and Vinnie passed away. But, man, Zach Wilde did an awesome job filling in for Dimebag and Charlie Benete from Anthrax. It was awesome, dude. They sounded great, and what was really cool is so many people were against this tour because the brothers are no longer with us, but they really did a good job putting their pictures up on the screen and rolling through old video and stuff, and they really made it a tribute to those guys. So it was cool, man. Those guys, that was my life in junior high and high school was Pantera and heavy metal, and it was great. And I took Alex Taylor, who covers the Cowboys for Cheyenne and Laramie, YO Sports. He'd never been to a concert really before in his life, let alone a heavy metal concert. So he got a huge eye-opener. We were sitting right above the mosh pit, too, and he was like, oh, my God. And I said, I tried getting us tickets down there, but didn't work out. So good time.
Well, and you and a lot of listeners know how much I like Texas country.
Yeah.
2 new albums dropped today, and Turnpike Troubadours, their first album in 6 years, came out today. It is excellent.
Nice.
And then Zach Bryan, who is he just churns out more music than anybody in the industry.
He drops stuff all the time, right?
And he just I think it's 16-track new album today too. So.
Nice. You just went to a show too, didn't you?
Yeah, last Thursday we were in Grand Junction, Colorado for Cody Canada. Mm-hmm. And we were down there seeing some friends and stuff and got to see Cody up front and close and got to talk to him after the show, just like I did in Texas earlier this year. So he's such a good guy.
That's great.
Really good show. And he jammed like I hadn't seen him jam in a long time. He can play the guitar.
I was kind of bummed. Were you at the Cody Johnson concert?
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed, man. I'm a huge fan of
Whiskey Myers.
Whiskey Myers. Love them. I was not impressed. Maybe they're not meant to play in a big ass venue like that where people are all crowded against the gates, and maybe they're more of a honky tonk, Billy Bob's outlaw.
Well, they're Southern rock, though, you know.
It just, I don't know, man.
I don't know. I still liked it because I knew all the songs.
Me too. I mean, I love the songs, and I thought they didn't play a couple that I was kind of shocked.
They didn't, but they were. When you're an opener, you have your time constraint.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, if you don't hold that against, if you have a chance to go see them, and especially in a small venue, do it.
Oh, I love them. I listen to them every day, but it just didn't hit like I thought it was going to. And they didn't talk. I know they have the time constraints, but they didn't talk or say, oh, so good to be here or anything. They just one after another and played a couple slow ones in a row that I'd never heard of. It was just kind of, I don't know, man. Wasn't that, I just thought maybe they'd be way better at like the Outlaw than in front of
you couldn't hold that
25,000 people at Frontier Days. I don't know.
They play in front of those crowds all the time, though, everywhere they go.
Yeah, they're great, though. They are great. Go see them for sure. Yep. But and Cody Johnson, I'd never even heard of him. He put on a nice show, but I had some lady sitting next to me going, "This is the next George Strait," and I'm like, dude, I don't know about all that.
He's pretty good.
He's good. He put on a hell of a show. The thing I love about him, unlike every country singer under the sun these days, he's actually a cowboy. He's actually been on a horse.
Former bull rider, and he team ropes today.
Yeah, so. Love that part.
Yep.
Love that. Don't see that enough anymore in country music for sure. But all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to have our first edition of the award-winning 7220sports.com kickoff show
next Saturday, September 2nd, yep. And I believe that time is going to be
3:30?
3 o'clock.
3, yeah. The game's at 5:30? Yeah. Kickoff's at 5:30, right?
So 2.5 hours before kickoff, yep. 3 o'clock.
Yep. Can't wait. Looking forward to that. Hopefully get some guests this year. Definitely get Mike Skinner on, our quiz winner. If you didn't cheat on that last quiz, you're a liar. That thing was brutal. It was hard to even come up with questions about soccer and tennis and rodeo, and I tried to really run the gamut on that one. So, but really appreciate you guys taking part in that. Hope you had fun with it. Maybe it's something we can pull off during the summers, during our slow time, and hell of a giveaway.
It is.
Hell of a giveaway. Yep. Really good. So Michael Skinner couldn't be more thankful, too. He was really cool to talk to on the phone. Really good to talk to him. Those definitely went to the right guy. So excited for that. Excited for the season. Stay tuned to 7220 Sports. Go check it out, man. There's 1.5 million stories on here. If you have any questions about Wyoming football, I guarantee it's answered in any one of these. I mean, it has been balls to the wall.
And read the story, not just the headlines.
Please, I'm begging you. But thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Texas Tech is on the clock.
College football's here, folks.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.